Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Administrative reforms, economic principles of Islamic State and individual. Legitimate earning. Narrated by Jabbar ibn Abdullah that Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Believers, have fear of Allah and take the path of moderation, because no one will die until he fulfills his sustenance, even if it is delayed. Therefore, fear Allah and take the path of moderation in asking for sustenance. Take which is halal and leave which is forbidden." Nisai 5580, Kinzul Iman 9309. Narrated by Khalid ibn Madan that Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "The best sustenance a human being, there is no better sustenance than a person who earns and eats with his own hands." Bukhari 2067. Narrated by Anas bin Malik, Allah's Apostle Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to supplicate often, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from having worries, sadness, helplessness, laziness, miserliness, cowardice, from being heavily in debt, and from being overpowered by other persons unjustly." Bukhari 5425. Benevolence. Narrated by Anas bin Malik, I heard Allah's Apostle Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying, "Whoever desires an expansion in his sustenance and age should keep good relation with his kith and kin." Bukhari 2067. Narrated by Mother of Believers Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa that Allah's Apostle Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to say, "O Allah, I seek refuge with you from arrogance and haram gain." Tirmidhi 1364. Narrated by Abu Musa al-Ashri, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Give food to the hungry, pay a visit to the sick, and release, set free the one in captivity by paying his ransom." Bukhari 5373. Narrated by Abu Ayyub, a man said to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, "Tell me of such a deed as will make me enter paradise." The people said, "What is the matter with him?" The Prophet said, "He has something to ask, what he needs greatly." The Prophet said, "In order to enter paradise, you should worship Allah and do not ascribe any partners to him. Offer prayers perfectly, pay the zakat, and keep good relations with your kith and kin." Bukhari 1396. Narrated by An-Nu'man bin Bashir, Allah's Apostle Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "You see the believers as regards their being merciful among themselves and showing love among themselves and being kind, resembling one body, so that if any part of the body is not well, then the whole body shares the sleeplessness, insomnia, and fever with it." Bukhari 6011. Abu Shamkh Azdi narrates from his cousin, who was a companion of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he said, "I heard Allah's Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying, whoever is entrusted with the responsibility of a matter of the people, then he closes the doors to the needs of the Muslims, or the oppressed or the needy, then Allah will close the doors of his mercy at the time of his need, while he is in great need." Al-Bahiki. Usury prohibited. Believers, do not devour interest, doubled and redoubled, and be mindful of Allah so that you may attain true success. Chapter 3, verse 130. Narrated by Abu Juhayfa, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cursed one who eats and takes riba, and usury, and the one who gives it. Bukhari 5347. Hoarding. Narrated by Muhammad ibn Ibrahim from Sa'd ibn Musab from Mamar ibn Abdullah ibn Nadla, who said, I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, hoarding is nothing but sin. Sunan Tirmidhi 1267. Deception. Narrated by Abu Burda ibn Niyaz that I went with the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the Eidgah of Baqi. There, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his hand into a pile of grain, then saw whether it was washed or not, was mixed up. Then the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he is not one of us, he is the one who deceived us. Musnad Ahmad 5929. Universal welfare. Narrated by Jarir ibn Abdullah, I gave the pledge of allegiance to Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the followings. Number 1, offer prayers perfectly. Number 2, pay the zakat, obligatory charity. Number 3, and be sincere and true to every Muslim. Bukhari 5:7. Believers, have fear of Allah and stand with those that are truthful. Chapter 9, verse 119. Narrated by Anas bin Malik, while we were sitting with the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the mosque, a man came riding on a camel. He made his camel kneel down in the mosque, tied its foreleg, and then said, who amongst you is Muhammad? At that time, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting amongst us, his companions, leaning on his arm. We replied that this white man reclining on his arm. The man then addressed him, O son of Abdul Muttalib. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I'm here to answer your question. The man said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want to ask you something and will be hard in questioning, so do not get angry. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ask whatever you want to ask. The man said, I ask you by your Lord and the Lord of those who were before you. Has Allah sent you as an apostle to all the mankind? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, by Allah, yes. The man further said, I ask you by Allah, has Allah ordered you to offer 5 prayers in a day and a night, 24 hours? He replied, by Allah, yes. The man further said, I ask you by Allah, has Allah ordered you to observe fast during the month of the year, for example Ramadan? He replied, by Allah, yes. The man further said, I ask you by Allah, has Allah ordered you to take zakat, obligatory charity from our rich people and distribute it amongst our poor people? The Prophet replied, by Allah, yes. Thereupon that man said, I have believed in all that with which you have been sent, and I have been sent by my people as a messenger, and I am Dimam bin Talaba from the brothers of Bani Sa'd bin Bakr. Bukhari 6:3. Narrated by Abu Huraira, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who looks after a widow or a poor person is like a mujahid, warrior, who fight for Allah's cause, or like him who performs prayers all night and fasts all day. Bukhari 5353. Dishonesty banned. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever has the following 4 characteristics will be a pure hypocrite, and whoever has one of the following 4 characteristics will have 1 characteristic of hypocrisy unless and until he gives it up. Number 1, whenever he is entrusted, he betrays. Number 2, whenever he speaks, he tells a lie. Number 3, whenever he makes a covenant, he proves treacherous. Number 4, whenever he quarrels, he behaves in a very imprudent, evil, and insulting manner. Bukhari 3:4. Justice in measurement. Woe to those who give short measure. Chapter 83, verse 1. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, when people begin to reduce their measure, they become victims of famine, economic hardships, and the excess of their rules. Majah. Freedom of earning and spending. Narrated by Abu Huraira that Allah's Apostle ﷺ said, Allah said, O son of Adam, spend, and I shall spend on you. Bukhari 5352. Illegitimate earning banned. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas that Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Allah has forbidden you gambling, wine, chess, or musical instruments. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, all intoxicants are prohibited. Musnad Ahmad 67703073. Payment of wages. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar that Allah's Messenger ﷺ said about the payment of laborer, pay his wages before his sweat dries up. Mishkat 2987. Honesty prime factor. Narrated by Abu Huraira that the Prophet ﷺ got up amongst us and mentioned al-ghulul, dishonesty, emphasized its magnitude, and declared that it was a great sin, saying, don't commit dishonesty, for I should not like to see anyone amongst you on the day of resurrection carrying over his neck a sheep that will be bleating, or carrying over his neck a horse that will be neighing. Such a man will be saying, O Allah's Apostle ﷺ, intercede with Allah for me. And I will reply, I can't help you, for I have conveyed Allah's message to you, nor should I like to see a man carrying over his neck a camel that will be grunting. Such a man will say, O Allah's Apostle ﷺ, intercede with Allah for me. And I will say, I can't help you, for I have conveyed Allah's message to you. Or one carrying over his neck gold and silver, saying, O Allah's Apostle ﷺ, intercede with Allah for me. And I will say, I can't help you, for I have conveyed Allah's message to you. Or one carrying cloths that will be fluttering, and the man will say, O Allah's Apostle ﷺ, intercede with Allah for me. And I will say, I can't help you, for I have conveyed Allah's message to you. Bukhari 3073. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ.